Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Real Heroes Show. You got Corey and Nick with you here as always. And in this video, spoilers beyond spoilers, we are diving into episode 5 of the Loki series, which is now streaming on Disney Plus. It is entitled Journey into Mystery, which is a fun Easter egg. We'll get to those later in the video. If you have not seen the first 5 episodes of this series, please pause this video, go back and watch them, watch our other 4 videos, and then watch this one. Nick, we've got a color scheme going today. It's purple and green. I think we're choo-choo full on board the Kang train.
Yeah, Kang all the way.
Yeah, and if you stick through the end of this video, we'll let you know why. We're going to share some Easter eggs here that might point towards who the actual antagonist of this series is. Before we get started with the review, just wanted to say big thank you. At the time of this recording, we're over 160 subscribers, which means we have a bunch of new people who have come on. Really appreciate all of you clicking that subscribe button and liking all these videos. We love to make them for you and hopefully spark some fun conversation in your own headcanons. So again, thanks so much for hopping on board. So we're going to do a very quick review of the episode itself, and then spend the back half of this episode talking about the tons and tons of Easter eggs that were in this episode, because it was basically like a field of landmines, except instead of landmines, it was Easter eggs to a whole bunch of Marvel shit. So, Nick, what did you think of this episode?
It was a fun ride. You know, I think a little bit of a change up than what we've gotten in the previous 4 episodes, while still maintaining what we've gotten in the previous 4 episodes. With characters and their development and some new characters and new variants. But I think this episode was just all about the Easter eggs, and what this is ultimately leading to, hopefully, as we make our prediction here at some point. And hopefully it's more than a red herring, but
we changed the color scheme.
Yeah, we did what Loki's been doing the entire series so far. There's a lot of purple and there's a lot of green, and there's a reason behind that. So we've been on board this train for 5 weeks now, in full hope that we are, I say, more or less correct in what this is leading to. But the bigger mystery behind the box that has been opened and leapt into. So
they leaped into it by the end of this episode.
They did a big leap this time. So yeah,
shit was wild. How many Lokis were there?
Oh, God,
I don't have
a dozen at least. I'd have to go back and check, but at least a dozen, I think.
Like, Michael Waldron is just laughing at all the people that are like, "Oh my God, 3 Spider-Men in No Way Home."
Yeah,
he's like, "I have like 25 Lokis in one episode," and they're all trying to kill each other and betray each other and wreak havoc and all that. So this takes place in a place called the Void, which is essentially limbo, which is another thing that points towards Kang the Conqueror that we'll get to later on. Loki's there because he got pruned again last week. Sylvie prunes herself, so she goes there. Mobius is there. So all of our major players, with the exception of really Renslayer and B-15, are now here in this place where everything gets dumped by the TVA. And I think they say that it's all the way at the end of time, right?
Right.
There's nothing that can be done. There's no escaping it. They can't mess with the timeline because it's already passed. So they're all just there. We've got Old Man Loki. We've got Kid Loki who killed Thor, right? Thought that was badass. The reason he's the leader is he killed Thor.
Yeah, savage.
Which is crazy. We run into President Loki, which the trailers made it seem like that was going to be our Loki, right? Turns out he wasn't. There's a lot of fun fights, betrayals, backstabbing, all that. But the crux of this episode is Sylvie and Loki trying to get to the bottom of who created the TVA. I think they say on multiple occasions during this episode, who's the man behind the curtain. And we come to find that in the Void there is a large smoke monster named Alioth, which sounds a lot like Goliath, but we'll get to the comic history of that in a little bit as well too. But Alioth is guarding something. Loki wants to kill it. Sylvie says, no, we absolutely should not kill it. We need to win over its favor so that we can get past it to get to who that person is. And then by the end of the episode, they do just that. and there's a large break in the smoke. There's a castle, and who's the man in the castle? So I was just speechless with the way that this all went, and how stuff from the first episode, the second episode, it all kind of just connected, and it's been structured really well. I feel like this has been the best structured Marvel series so far.
I think so too.
To the point where the action is not just there for the sake of action. The action is actually paying off all the talking that happened in the beginning, which I think that's great. So I don't know how much more you want to talk about the episode before we dive into these Easter eggs, but if there's anything you want to share, I mean, please feel free.
I'll just touch on some of the character points maybe. We got to see Mobius. So I thought it was going to be Loki rescuing Sylvie, but turns out it's Mr. Owen Wilson himself in the car, which we'll get to at some point. But I like to see Mobius kind of come around and him going, burn it down, right? Like he's on board with Loki and Sylvie now. I'm like, I want to know who's behind this as well. I want to get back to my jet skis, damn it, and get back to the life I had. So who's to blame him, right? I think a lot of people in maybe his boat would have wanted to do the same. So to see Mobius kind of come around again, it's furthering his character development. We see, Sylvie and Loki have a little bit more of a romantic entanglement, right? Sharing the blanket.
Well, not at first. Loki is like his normal selfish self, and then he's like, shit, I probably should. This for her
he's such a noob when it comes to just like trying to swoon a woman.
Literally a demigod. He has no idea what he's doing. It's great.
Yeah. God. Is it what did Richard E. Grant, classic Loki, say? The god of some
catastrophic failure or some
nonsense
like that.
Yeah, it's like the god of losing, basically.
Which, man, Richard E. Grant was great.
Yeah, I want to touch on the other Lokis as well really quick. It was great to kind of see them in their little lair, to find out what they were. But again, Richard E. Grant's backstory and the reason why he was there, which I think is really interesting because he talks about everything that we already know. Like he just said the same thing. Like, daggers are great, except when you hear them falling to the ground as your neck's being snapped by the Mad Titan. And except he created something so believable that Thanos thought it was real, and meanwhile he's hiding as an inanimate object, only to float in space. And again, just like Sif said in the previous episode, you're going to be alone, you're always going to be lonely. He was lonely, but when he says, I just wondered if my brother missed me because I missed him. So it's like not every Loki is that sort of cut off from feelings, except Kid Loki, who doesn't give a shit and killed his kid brother Thor.
Rip.
So I think Richard Grant's story, his acting and this whole episode was great. Especially at the end when he's just building Asgard,
literally conjuring an entire city.
And Alioth is just falling for it, and he's like kind of building it back up again, like moving the buildings up and down as Alioth's trying to like bite into it. And so
what was cool about that though is like he does that, and normally like in a Marvel thing that would normally be just like an instance where it's like, oh look, a character did something that's really cool, but by him doing that, it opened up I'll say Prime Loki, our Loki, it opened up his eyes to the fact that he's like, maybe we're more powerful than we think we are. And then that's the thing, that when he holds Sylvie's hand, he's able to enchant, which the entire series so far, he has said, I can't do that. That's not a power that I possess. Turns out it is. So it makes you wonder, like, how powerful is a Loki when Loki's not getting in his own way? So and the action justified story beats and all that, which is awesome. It's great.
If I have one hope, and again, I think this would go along the lines of Sylvie's own character development, maybe by the last episode, or if we get to see more of her beyond this show, which we don't know yet, I would like for her to go into her own character. So she calls herself Enchantress, since she's basically known for enchanting everything. We've been hearing it since episode 2. So I'd like to just see that sort of comic nod to it. Like, we've been hearing her always using the power, and she has a super big tie with Asgard, as we know from the comics, and obviously the show too, from being a variant. So just for her own character development, I'd like to see that moving forward. But overall, great episode. I really enjoyed it. It was super fun.
So 9 out of 10.
I think so. I think it was just as good as last week's episode.
I think so too.
Albeit different, right? It had a different feel.
Very different. Mm-hmm.
But still, episodes can have different feelings to them and still be just as good when you sort of weigh what they contain, in a glass. So this glass was pretty damn full in my book.
Yeah, I think they have some of the better writing that Marvel has had in a while. Which makes me really excited, because this team is also doing Doctor Strange 2, which should be just as crazy as this, if not crazier. So we shall see. So I think general consensus 9 out of 10. We're solid on that. So let's just get into these Easter eggs, man.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the first one, the Thanos helicopter.
Yes.
Great.
Thanos himself. So good.
For people who are not too privy to the comics, Thanos went through a lot of silly shit before becoming the guy who forged the gauntlet and got the stones and did the snap the way that you see in the movies. And he used to fly around in a helicopter that had his name on it and patrol the skies. And I about died laughing when I saw it.
That's just not a nod to how comics were so silly decades ago. Like, it's like, it's great. I think the guy who just destroyed half of life and of all existence. But first, he was in a helicopter. Oh God, it's so good.
So the title of this episode is Journey into Mystery. That is a nod to the original Thor and Loki stories that were in Atlas Comics, which is what Marvel Comics was known before it was Marvel Comics. So that's a nice little nod, which is fun. There was a ton of stuff just out in those wastelands, and we'll try to cover as much of it as we can. Yellow Jacket's helmet was there from the original Ant-Man, right? But instead of being human-sized or tiny, it was giant man-sized. So maybe in an alternate timeline, Yellow Jacket's able to grow the same way that Ant-Man can when he turns into Giant Man.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Possible.
I don't know. The one thing that I asked for out of this series came true. They did that panning shot down into their little bunker, and in a glass jar, Frog Thor was there saying, "Let me out," and goddamn, that's great.
right next to Mjolnir too.
Right. Yeah. And the glass jar that he's in has a sticker on it that says T365 on it, which 365 was the number in the Mighty Thor comics where Frog Thor made his first appearance. So really cool little Easter egg there, which is great. Boastful Loki, who we didn't get to spend a ton of time with, but he did commit one betrayal, which is very true to form. He claimed to have taken all the Infinity Stones and killed Captain America and Iron Man. And then all of the other Thors were just like, he's lying. Even the Gator snarled.
Yeah.
In classic Loki's like, that means he's lying.
Can we talk about Gator Loki just for 1 second?
Hell yeah, he's the next one on the list. So let's just get to him.
Because when he bites off President Loki's hand, holy shit! I about died, because he tried to do that to boastful Loki, but he was unsuccessful in taking off his hand. But he was successful on the second attempt.
And
is hilarious.
To me, anytime I see someone lose a hand, I think it's a nod towards Star Wars. And Michael Waldron is writing Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie whenever that comes out. So I like to think that those two are mixed.
Connected,
every time they were talking about something serious and then the camera panned down to the gator, I cracked up. I thought it was so damn funny.
Yeah.
Apparently the gator's Nexus event was eating the neighbor's cat.
Yeah.
Which is, if you down in the South, like we are in Florida, you hear gator stories like that all the time. And it's,
true to life.
Pretty cool. So Gator Loki was a lot of fun. The fact that most of the Lokis didn't know he was a Loki and they had to like explain to it, that was pretty cool. Mobius's truck that he's driving in kind of looks like the Pizza Planet truck from Pixar and Toy Story.
Yeah, it did. Very, very similar.
That's all under the Disney umbrella, so maybe an Easter egg, maybe not, who knows. But let's get into two of them that might be signaling Kang the Conqueror. So we see Mobius and Sylvie driving in the truck past pyramids and a sphinx, right? One of Kang's alter egos is Rama-Tut. He travels back in time to the ancient Egyptian period so that he could become a pharaoh.
Yep.
Do you think that's a too on the nose Easter egg, or do you think it's another sign that Kang's coming?
I mean, to me it is. I saw it and I was like, hello. It could be one of those things where him doing that, was that supposed to happen, or was it a failed attempt and that's why it's there, sort of thing. Or it has to be like, why the hell would you throw those two objects,
I know, right,
in there to be like, oh, there wasn't supposed to be another pyramid, or there wasn't supposed to be a second sphinx or whatever. It's like, no, come on, man. Like, this is a super pinpointed direct to Rama-Tut. Like, it has to be. And I will take no for an answer, damn it.
Well, and when you think about it, one of the things from the comics that Kang is known for is he lives in a place called Tenebrae, which is also why it's known as Castle Limbo.
Right.
This kind of represented Limbo to a degree.
Oh, they are, right.
And one of the things that Kang did was prune different timelines of himself in the quest to try to get to an end game, no pun intended, of like peace and tranquility. So maybe he pruned a timeline where he traveled back to become Rama-Tut, and that's why it's there.
Right.
Who knows, right? Which, again, the Castle Limbo thing could be a nod towards where Kang lives in the comics, and they're walking towards a castle once they split Alioth open, so who knows. Next one on the list is we see a building that looks a lot like Stark Tower or the Avengers Tower, but really quickly, if you freeze frame on it, instead of STARK, it says QENG, which is Kang Enterprises, which is another nod to a comic storyline that features Kang the Conqueror. There was a person at Kang Enterprises, I think it was the CEO, named Mr. Glyphon, and that was one of Kang's alter egos that got pruned. So we're two in a row there. It seems like it can't just be coincidence at this point.
No, it can't be. Like, and I'll quickly add, we already know that Jonathan Majors has been casted as Kang the Conqueror.
He posted on his Instagram the other day that he went to a comic book shop and autographed something, Jonathan Majors, Kang, underneath it.
Yeah, and we know that he's not supposed to make an appearance until Ant-Man and the Wasp 3.
Yeah.
But do you think that the mastermind, Kevin Feige, couldn't have tried to fit him in at some point earlier as a surprise to, again, the Thanos effect? We didn't get to see Thanos come out until Infinity War, but we did see him say, fine, I'll do it myself a lot sooner. Who's to say that we don't see him in the episode 6 finale of Loki in the castle and Sylvie and Loki come before him? Or, I mean, again, even if we don't really necessarily see him at like, or maybe in full form or a form, or however he refers to himself as, but regardless, if we hear one of his aliases, like, it's 100,000% Kang.
Right. So whether he says I'm Kang or I'm Immortus or I'm Nathaniel Richards or whoever, right? There are a lot of chances for this to show up. So that's all wild stuff. The last couple that I have here don't really pertain to Kang or the story, but the giant ship that crashes through the the pruning from the Nexus event, the USS Eldridge. Very similarly to the DB Cooper stuff they did earlier in the season. That's kind of like a conspiracy theory ship. I love that. There are like ghost stories that have been told about it, where that ship's been like teleported from New York to Boston, that it was in the Bermuda Triangle, that the people on that ship are like stuck to it and can never get out. Like a whole lot of really weird stuff that has gone largely unexplained for a very long time. I thought it was cool that they threw that in there. The Dark Aster is laid out in the background, which was Ronan's ship from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. And then lastly, there's a scene where it's just like a whole bunch of fields, and there's a large stone of the head of the Living Tribunal, which is a really fascinating concept because, as you explained to me before this call, the Living Tribunal is supposed to basically be judge, jury, and executioner of the entire Marvel universe.
Yeah.
So why is its head in the void?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say, and we briefly talked about, is it an actual statue of him that just ended there, sort of like the pyramid and the Sphinx sort of thing, or is it his actual head that could have been sent there because he was defeated in the comics by the Beyonders, so it's possible for the Living Tribunal to be defeated or die, but only by one or two people in the entirety of Marvel. So it's possible, right? Again, might be just his head turned to stone, or just rotten, or just kind of been chilling there for eons, or just a statue. But either way, it is really cool, as you pointed out, that Living Tribunal was the first who actually got to see something of him in the MCU. There was talk about him supposed to being in Endgame after the snap. So cool to see it now.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I'm sure that there's 10, 20, 50 more things in this episode that we'd have to watch multiple times to pick up on all of it.
Freeze frame,
that just from being able to comb through it quickly, that's everything we've got for the Easter eggs. So we're 5/6 of the way through this show. We've got the finale next week,
sadly.
Where's your hype for this finale? Like, I know there's a lot of stuff still. Like, there's a Bad Batch on Friday, there's Black Widow on Friday, like there's a bunch of stuff, but for me, I'm kind of just like, let's get to next Wednesday. So I really want to know what happens in this finale.
Yeah, out of that, like, even I hate to say, unfortunately, the Black Widow hype has died down a lot, just from the numerous pushbacks. I hope it does well, but when you're comparing it to the Loki hype that's been going on for over a month now, and after this episode and leading it to the finale, and what I say we, and I'm sure a bunch of other people watching or just out there in the world, they want to see what the hell is this all leading to? What's the point of the TVA? We want to see the answers for all these questions, and where they're leading themselves through Alioth here to this castle. And I mean, the hype and the mystery behind that, to me, is much higher than Black Widow. So
it's like over 5 episodes they've made their way to the final boss battle in the video game, and it's like that moment right before you get there where the game says, hey, make any upgrades you can because you can't save anything past this point. Like, I feel like that's where we're at with this series, and usually the best parts of any story or any game happen after that. So I'm extremely hyped for it.
It's gonna be good. I mean, I have the image pulled up on my other monitor here, and every time I look at it, it's just like, it just looks so damn cool.
It's teasing you.
It is. Like, the setup is there, and it's again, it's building the hype to kind of see what we get. And I refuse to believe that we'll be disappointed. I know we said, even if it is a red herring, show has been fantastic all the way through. I think, again, the points we've made in this episode, us talking about Kang, it's got to be
I know.
And again, we might not see him. We might see a picture on the wall. We might see a plaque that says Nathaniel Richards on it. Just
something. Give me something.
Something that we know. And I guess the bigger question beyond this to everyone is, after Loki is done, even if they find out it's Kang, where does this go? Does this Loki variant return back to 2012 New York? What happens to Sylvie? Does she go somewhere off? Will we see her again?
Is there a second season of this show?
Second season of this show. Does Mobius get to ride a jet ski?
Damn it, we need that.
Like, that is probably one of the bigger things on my hype list for the finale.
Jet ski, damn it.
I want to see Mobius damn jet ski.
I want water sports. I want him in like a Hawaiian shirt with like some Wayfarer sunglasses on, just having the time of his damn life riding that jet ski.
I'll admit the fact that we're not getting a wow.
Yeah, fine, whatever.
We did get a how, which is very similar to wow.
And he said it the same way.
He did. He did. I love that. I'll say, as far as the TVA as well, the timekeepers, are they still alive?
Does it all get
burned down? Does it get dismantled? Lots of questions.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll get all the answers though.
Realistically, Quantum Mania isn't supposed to come out till 2023, right?
Yeah, 2 years.
We're in 2021. If they do a second season of Loki that involves Kang, it could come out next year. And then the year after that could be Quantum Mania.
Very true.
Who knows? We don't know. Obviously, we're just here along for the ride, hoping we don't get Ralph Boner.
Yes.
But either way, I think it's going to be fun. So, so we've talked enough. Now it's your turn. Go ahead and leave us a comment below. Let us know if there were any Easter eggs that you saw that we didn't catch. Let us know what you thought of this episode and what your hype levels are moving into the finale of what has been an outstanding series so far. And as always, you can help support this channel for free by liking the videos, subscribing if you haven't already, turn on those notifications that way you don't miss any future videos from us, and share the video with your friends. Later this week, we will have a Bad Batch review for this week's episode, as well as a review of Black Widow. That might come out late Friday or early Saturday. We're not sure how we're going to do that logistically yet, but it will come out sometime this weekend. So definitely make sure to stay tuned for that. And until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Peace.